Good evening, guys. Good evening. Welcome to the Confident Home Herbalist 2024. It's super exciting to be kicking this off. Super excited about this event, particularly at this time of the year as we move into cold and flu season. The most challenging time of the year now, which is why we decided to release this free course now. But it's not just about cold and flu; it's about all things herbal medicine. So, a massive, massive, massive thank you for being here, for signing up, for showing up, for all of your involvement and posts and photos on the Facebook group. Super grateful for all of that interaction. Hi Joe, Pippa, Sarah. I hope everyone who is joining live has had a lovely weekend and a good Sunday. Before we get going, and I'm going to say this the start of every live session, so apologies for the repetition, and those of you who've done our 3 weeks before will have heard me say this a million times, but before we start, if everyone could just give me a barrage of emojis, just smiley faces, thumbs up, or whatever, just because on the Facebook algorithm, it just helps bump the video to the top of the feed, so everyone who's trying to find the video can find it just a little bit more easily and a little bit more quickly. So if you could just give me an explosion of emojis, that would just help everyone in this community. I know we've got people from all over the world. We've got lots of people from Canada, strangely, lots of people from South Africa. So do let me know in the comments where you're from. I'd love to get a sense of our geographical kind of spread or variety. So do let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. So these live sessions, obviously we've got a live session every day between now and Thursday, including Thursday. They'll be between 20 to 30 minutes long. Like, I know everyone's busy. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know we get lots of questions as we're going through the live. Okay, I'm not ignoring them. What I do is I answer them retrospectively. Okay, so once I finish the live, I go back and answer those questions, just so that you don't kind of overrun too much. Okay, so if you ask a question, one, I'm not ignoring it, and two, you will get a full response. Okay, and also this Facebook group. Okay, we're close to 800 people in this Facebook group. Almost 100 people live now, which is an absolute privilege. I'm so grateful. It's the kind of the beating heart of these events. Okay, because it provides a place of support, it provides a place of interaction, and most importantly, allows everyone here to get everything out of the week that you need to make it a success. Questions, queries, anything you want to go over again, anything you want specific advice around. Holly and I very much give ourselves to this Facebook page over the next week. Well, actually a bit longer, because this event actually goes on to the following week, because we've got some bonus sessions, which I'll talk about in a minute. So yeah, this is a safe space. One of the things I want to emphasize is there's absolutely unequivocally no such thing as a stupid question. Okay, this is a safe space. There's no judgment. There's no, kind of criticisms. If you've got a question about, how anything to do with this, and you're not sure about it, always ask. Okay, please do ask, and I'll always get back to you. Okay, and also I'm a huge fan of energy. I think the energy we put out is the energy we get back. So use this Facebook group as a place to inspire and energize and motivate and galvanize, so that we can just all absolutely get everything we need out of this. Okay. And actually, as a quick digression, when I was working in the hospital, we looked at I was involved in lots of clinical trials, looking at what's the most effective way of empowering behavior change, whether that's around hand washing, about diet, about herbs. And we looked at one-to-one support, we looked at group support, we looked at online support, and consistently the most effective way of delivering this kind of information is online. Okay, in support groups. And one of the reasons for that is it allows for, one, reactive support. You can ask a question and you can get an answer really quickly. And two, it allows for 24-hour access. You can rewatch when you want, how often you want, for as long as you want. Okay, so we've run these 3 weeks. I'm sure lots of people here have done our 3 weeks in the past. We run a few of these every year. And we can impart a huge amount of information to a lot of people in a very effective way. So these weeks, they work, they're very effective. So and the Facebook group is a big part of that. But I know we've got 2,000 people signed up collectively. I know a lot of people are taking part on the YouTube videos and via email. So those of you who aren't on Facebook but are watching this, a very big welcome, a very sincere welcome. And if you're not on Facebook but you've got questions, use the YouTube. Okay, when we post this video up on YouTube, if you've got a question, ask it in the comments below the respective YouTube video. Okay, so tonight, this week, obviously all about herbal medicines. Okay, about empowering people to be confident and competent in using herbs to transform health out of individuals and families, to keep your household in tip-top health. For me, herbal medicine, it provides such an opportunity, and it's such a passion of mine. I was very lucky to grow up around herbal medicine, particularly Ayurvedic herbal medicine, and propagating it and kind of spreading the message of herbal medicine, particularly home herbal medicine, is one of the most important parts of my professional career. It's one of my biggest passions professionally, trying to get, my wish is that every household in Britain or wherever you are, if every household just had a baseline level of confidence in using herbs, it would allow us to transform our health, our individual health, the health of our families and our communities. I think we could transform the public health model if we had a smattering of herbal knowledge in every household, and the clinical research, supports that. And it's transformed my life. I can't imagine my life without herbs. And as I've gotten older, when I was younger, it was very much about the clinical research and the clinical practice. But as I've gotten older and had children, I've got 3 children, it's almost become more important, because it's so, as a parent, it's so empowering. Like the other week, not this week, the week before, my middle child, Trixie, was off school with a sore throat, a headache, kind of a head coldy thing. And it was so, I was just reflecting on it today. It's such a empowering thing to just to know what to do, just to know what herbs to use, what remedies to use, what works. It works. The evidence shows it works. It's safe. And just being able to help, a person in your family to feel better, to recover quicker, to shorten the duration, is such a powerful thing. So, it's almost become more important for me as I've gotten older and as I've had children. And that applies to whether you're caring for parents, or whether you're caring for children, or whether you're caring for husbands and wives, whether you're caring for yourself. It doesn't make any difference. The model holds true. And I've seen it transform the lives of thousands of people over the years, in terms of patients, in terms of those we've done the clinical trials on. I know unequivocally, pretty much without exception, that when people begin to integrate and adopt herbal medicines into their life, it transforms their health, their energy, their happiness, their sense of well-being. And that's what this week is about. Okay. And that brings us on to, what is the home herbalist model? Why have we chosen to call this week the Confident Home Herbalist? Okay. And actually, it goes back, the concept of home herbalism, or a home herbalist, or in some cases a village herbalist, goes back, for almost all of our existence as a species, particularly, from, the last 1,000 years up until the Industrial Revolution. Every village, almost every household, but in some contexts, every village had a designated herbalist. So when people fell sick, when people were looking to improve their health or manage a problem, they went to the home herbalist, they went to the village herbalist, who was a custodian of how to use plant-based medicines, herbal medicines, to optimize health and treat illness and disease. And that's, it's such an empowering model. Okay, it's such an empowering model to reinitiate that. And what the aim of this week is that everyone here taking part, when this process ends, when we shut the doors in 10 days or whenever it is, everyone genuinely feels confident in using a wide, quite broad selection of herbs to apply this model to your life, to your health, to your household's health. And the success of that concept, the success of the home herbalist concept, it can transform public health. Okay, the clinical research shows that when we begin adopting herbs in the familial context in this way, it transforms everything in terms of physical health, mental health, sick days, prescription medicine usage, absenteeism, days off school. It goes on and on and on. The research is absolutely robust on that. And for me, we're not sitting ducks. Okay, it's one of the things that I'm one of the biggest messages that's going to, weave its way through the entire content of this week is that we're not sitting ducks. We don't, one of the things that Holly, who's my wife, who's a big part of this week, she said so many years ago, over a decade ago, and I've never forgotten it. And whenever I talk about herbs, I talk about this example. She said, just as a flippant comment, imagine having a household illness, whether it's yourself or your husband or your wife or your child, and not knowing what to do. And it hit me right between the eyes. Having a child who's ill, having a husband who's got tension headaches, having a wife who's got bad constipation, having a parent who can't sleep, and not knowing what to do, not knowing how to act, not knowing what herbs to use, what remedies to prescribe, knowing that they work, the evidence that they're safe, knowing how to prescribe them. Do we use tinctures, or do we use herbal baths, or do we use herbal teas? And not knowing how to do that, I would feel so kind of lost. I would feel so disempowered. The idea of having to tough it out. If you've got a really bad headache, or you're going through a really stressful period, or you've got a really bad sore throat, and kind of having to just slog it out, having to tough it out without knowing how to alleviate the symptoms, how to speed up recovery, how to shorten the duration. If you've got someone in your household who's maybe feeling tired or not quite as vital as they should be, how do we energize them? How do we make our households feel happier and healthier? That's what this is about. It's about this idea that we're not sitting ducks. We don't have to just wait for illnesses to arrive. We don't have to wait for them to fix themselves on their own. We don't have to rely on quite side effect heavy over-the-counter medicines. We can act ourselves in a safe and evidence-based way to manage these problems. And that's the entire focus of what this week is about. And we need this model now. We need this model now, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. We all need it now. Okay, and I read a line in the broadsheets last week, which I actually wrote down because of tonight, and it said in a struggle. It was speaking about the NHS, the National Health Service in Britain. It said, in a struggling system, it's the responsibility of every individual to relieve the pressure, not add to it. In a struggling health system, it's the obligation of every individual to relieve the pressure rather than add to it. And it really kind of captivated me, that, because it tied in so beautifully with what this week is about. I think I know we've got people all over the world, so it's probably different, but I know probably most people will resonate with the view that since COVID, the health systems are overwhelmed. Getting GP appointments is a lot harder through no fault of their own. Nurses, do heroic work, and they often overburden. Getting community care is incredibly hard. There's a global medicine shortage. It's getting increasingly hard to access care. And what that means is we have to take the bit between the teeth, and we have to empower ourselves, because we know from the evidence that around 60 to 70% of common household ailments that present to GPs, that present to nurses, can be clinically managed using natural medicine. Not sometimes, possibly, maybe. We know that. Okay, the clinical research, particularly from Germany, but also the UK, France, Canada, shows that. Okay, so that means with just a foundation of knowledge, when anyone in your household, friends, family, yourself, come down with a problem, an illness, an ailment, about 60% of the time, 70% of the time, we can manage that effectively. Okay, and that's what this week is about. Is how do we actually do that? How do we facilitate that? And when we're talking about herbal medicines, and it's a really big point, when we start getting our hands dirty in depth tomorrow, I'm going to continually refer back to the evidence, and and I don't want to bore people with it, but it's really important for me to emphasize that the evidence, every single thing we'll be talking about, every herb, every remedy, every application has, yes, it's been used for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years in traditional medicine, European medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. It's got a long history of use, but it has published clinical research to show it works. And I think that's really important because it allows us to have trust, it allows us to have faith, one, in the effectiveness of what we'll be doing, but two, in the safety. Okay, we have to know that if we're treating a child who's got tonsillitis, we're doing it safely, we're doing it effectively. Okay, if you're treating your husband because he's got really bad, tension headaches, we need to know that it's going to work, but we need to know it's safe. And we're going to be doing that in two main areas. Okay, the two main aims and objectives of this week are very much prevention and treatment. Okay, the old adage of an ounce of prevention being better than a pound of cure is obviously absolutely true. And a big part of this week, particularly if you're tuning in as someone who's over the age of 40, 40 is typically a watershed in terms of our health, our energy, our vitality. We know that unless we act in a specific way in terms of our exercise, our diet, our sleep, particularly our herbal medicine use, most people notice a subtle but progressive decline in vitality, energy, vivaciousness, strength, stamina. So a big part of this is how do we counter that with herbs, evidence-based herbs? How do we really optimize the health and energy of our body, our organs, but also our mind, our mental body? So there's a big emphasis on optimizing health. There's an equal emphasis on treating illness. Every household comes down with illnesses. Okay, with the best diet and the best self-care and the best herbal medicine use, every household, we're not robots. My daughter, like I said, was ill the other week. I get ill, Holly gets ill. No one's invincible. Okay, with the best will in the world, we all fall prey to household ailments, and knowing how to act is absolutely key. And what's so interesting is that this mindset, this concept of home herbalism, is something that is being propagated really heavily in health services and also in the research. So an example of that, which we'll talk about later in the week, and some of you may know of or have used this herb. There's an Ayurvedic herb called andrographis. Okay, let me know in the comments if you've heard of it or if you've used it. And it's one of the most clinically proven herbal antibiotics and herbal antivirals. It's an immune stimulant. So it's one of the best herbs to turn to if you're managing infections. If you've got a bacterial or viral sore throat, earache, head cold, bronchitis, urinary infection, anything like that, andrographis is a clinically proven treatment. Okay, but the NHS, the NHS, in my old department at Southampton Hospital, we were given lots and lots of money to within the NHS to research andrographis as a way of reducing antibiotic prescribing for respiratory infections, for urinary infections. So suddenly, you've got herbal medicines being integrated into the conventional system in Germany. More people use herbal medicines than conventional medicines across the length and breadth of Germany. It's getting that way in Canada. It's getting that way in certain areas of Australia. It's getting that way in certain areas of Britain. So that we want to be, that's all well and good, that science and that research and this, that and the others, brilliant, but how do we actually adopt that into our life, into your life, into my life? It's no good if this research is confined to dusty medical journals, or we don't want to be in a situation where someone in your household is trying to manage an ailment and you're going onto Google and you're researching this, that and the other, and it's getting confusing and it's getting convoluted and you don't know what herb to use. We don't want that. Okay, it's about how do we get that research into the hands of as many people as possible so that it can be applied in a safe, supported and evidence-based way. Okay, if we can do that, we can transform our health and our well-being. And another thing that is a massive priority for me, and it's such a priority that we're actually going to have a bonus session on it, because it was really hard. It's really hard designing this week to make sure that we're providing maximum value. But there's so many things we could talk about. We could do this. We could do a live session every day for a month and still, not even scratch the surface. So it was really hard to try and boil down what's going to give everyone here the biggest gain for kind of biggest bang for bucks in many ways. But one of the things that I haven't included in the core syllabus, so every night we've got a live session between now and Thursday, including Thursday, but we've got a couple of bonus sessions that are going to allow us to target additional content. And one of those bonus sessions is going to be on kind of opening up the lens. So it's, yes, managing, optimizing health is key, and managing common household ailments is key. But what happens if we open the lens and look at the bigger picture and look at our health and longevity, and in particular looking at something called the trilogy of killers? So we've had about 2,500 people sign up to this event. Statistically, 90% of us will die from one of three things: cancer, Alzheimer's, or heart disease. Okay, they're called the trilogy of killers. But there is absolutely compelling, incredibly robust, published evidence to show that herbal medicines can significantly suppress the mechanisms of those three diseases and can significantly reduce our risk of them. That's not to say that herbs can prevent cancer. It's not to say that herbs can prevent Alzheimer's or heart attacks, but it is to say they reduce our risk factors, okay? And that plays the long game. And one of the things I'm absolutely hell-bent on is this model. If we can adopt herbal medicines, low dose, regularly, long-term, over the years and decades, we can significantly reduce our risk factors for falling prey to these kinds of illnesses: cancers, heart disease, and Alzheimer's, okay? And there are certain herbs like rhodiola, herbs like hawthorn, that I take every day because I know that they're going to sustain my health and reduce my risk for these illnesses exponentially. And it's if I could be given a 10-minute slot on national telly and I could talk about anything I wanted, this would probably be what I'd talk about, because it could change public health. It could change the health. If we adopt these things and we apply them for the next 10 years and we reconvene in 10 years, these things will have changed the health of our heart, the health of our arteries, the health of our brain, our health of our DNA control, reducing our risk factors for cancer. Not possibly, maybe, could do, it will. The evidence is there. So we're going to have a bonus session on looking at the bigger picture and how we can reduce our risk factors for these more sinister, life-threatening ailments. So yes, it's optimizing health and energy and well-being. Yes, it's managing common household ailments, but it's also the bigger picture: longevity, disease prevention. And that's the aim of this week. But it's not just about science and theory. This week's ultimately going to be practical. Okay, that's the beauty of herbal medicines. It's fun. It's a creative act. Okay, I love exploring herbs. I love making remedies. I love building an apothecary. One of the in the workbook, there's a whole list of herbs, okay, and ingredients. And if you're planning to make the remedies alongside of us, okay, by the end of this process, you'll be well on your way to building a home herbal apothecary. You'll have tea blends and herbal bath blends and fermented honeys and tonics and all these kind of things. So do check out the herb list in the workbook. Most of them you can get from your supermarket. Herbs like rosemary, thyme, sage, garlic, apple cider vinegar, raw honey. There's most of those are supermarket staples. There are a selection of medical herbs, herbs like ashwagandha, herbs like rhodiola. They're in the workbook. If you are planning on getting them, we've managed to negotiate a 20% discount with Fushi, which is amazing. If you use the code, I think it's healthy20. It's in the workbook. You'll get 20% off all of their products. Okay. So, I love everything about herbal medicine. I love foraging. I love culinary. Another thing we're going to talk about later in the week is culinary herbalism. Herbal medicine isn't just about making medicines. We can integrate herbalism into our cooking. Okay. If we add a bit of fennel seed into our soup, we extract 30% more nutrients. Okay. If we add more garlic into our spaghetti bolognese, it has antiviral actions. So it's about herbalism in its biggest, broadest context. But what I'd love you all to do, and again, let me know if you're planning to, is actually making the remedies. Like tomorrow is a fundamentally important session because we're discussing what for me is a non-negotiable, mandatory remedy to have in your household. It's the fermented probiotic herbal honey. Okay, I'm not aware of really any other remedy that probably has the same level of impact in terms of immune support in terms of preventing infections, in terms of treating infections. So it's an immune tonic that I take every day, and it's probiotic. So it's supporting gut health, which is, you know, where 80% of our immune system lives. It's super easy to make. It's super quick, really palatable. So we'll be talking about fermenting. We'll be talking about the herbs. We'll also be talking about the single most proven herb in the world that's clinically proven for preventing the number of cold and infections we get over winter. Okay, so what I'd love for everyone to do is actually make the remedies. So when we talk about tomorrow's remedy, hopefully the next day you'd actually make it so it's sat there in your store cupboard or your growing apothecary, so that you can, you know, pull it out when you need it. Okay. So every day we're going to have a live session. Okay, it'll be 7 o'clock. We'll be done by 7:30, somewhere between 7:20 and 7:30. So we start in earnest tomorrow. Okay, tonight I wanted to lay the foundation, just say hello to everyone and just talk about the transformative impact of this model, what it's about. We start tomorrow in terms of getting our hands dirty. So every day, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week, we'll be exploring a home remedy and the herbs they contain, and a medicinal herb and how to use them. And we'll be emailing out the next day, we'll be emailing out the recording, and we'll be emailing out the recipes, the remedies, and the herb profiles. So the next day, you'll get all of the content. So by the end of this process, you'll have loads of recipes, loads of remedies, all of this stuff. Okay, so we'll be live every day at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow's session is particularly, well, actually every session is important because we picked the most important ones, but tomorrow, particularly if you know you're vulnerable to kind of, you know, cold and flu and this, that and the other, tomorrow's session is really important. I hope everyone is kind of excited. You know, I'm a self-confessed herbal geek. You know, I make no excuses about that because I know herbs can transform lives. But I hope everyone's feeling kind of excited and chomping at the bit to get going. Okay, like I say, use this Facebook group to have, you know, we had between 170 and 180 people live, which is just blows my mind. So I'm so grateful for everyone showing up. It means the world to me. So a very sincere thank you. Use the Facebook group. Any questions, any comments, anything you want to discuss, you know, we'll be on the Facebook group checking it and moderating it all through the week. Anyone who's asked questions during tonight's live, I will answer once we wrap up now. Okay, and then we'll be back live at 7 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, for talking about the fermenting, the probiotics, the cold and flu, the herbal honeys, the antivirals, all of these kinds of things. So a massive thank you for being here. Really, really grateful, and I will answer questions now. And I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow at 7 p.m. We'll be getting our hands dirty with the first remedy. Okay, so have a lovely, lovely, lovely rest of the evening, and I will see you all soon. Cheers, guys.